Hello everyone, this is Rogers Redding, National Coordinator of Football Officials, and I'm back with another few plays this week to have you look at and talk about a little bit. We've got 7 plays on here this time. We've got one that talks about the clock. We've got one of these iconic plays now where the players are dropping the ball before they run into the end zone, which seems amazing to me. We also had one of the first times that a targeting foul was actually called by the replay official from the replay booth, and a few others that will be of interest to you as well. So again, thanks for watching these, and thanks for the input and the feedback that we're getting from a number of you. We continue to get indications that these are useful to you, and so now let's look at the plays. One of the important rule changes for 2016 is the increased role of the instant replay official in the targeting foul. And an important part of that change is that the rules now allow for the instant replay official to actually create a targeting foul if one is not called on the field. That would happen in situations that are clearly obvious that the replay official could confirm very quickly. The play you're going to see is a textbook example of such a play. This was not called on the field, should have been called on the field, but the replay official quickly sees that this is a targeting foul that absolutely should have been called. It's clear, it's obvious, it jumps out at you as one that must be called, and this is the exact kind of play where the new rule is applied and applied correctly.
Review. A hit by number 29 on a defenseless receiver has been deemed to be targeting. Number 29, by rule, will be disqualified from the game.
We'll get a call for defensive pass interference on this long pass play. This is a good call. You'll see the feet tangled up, and if that were the only contact that had been made, this would not be a foul. But what you can see is that the defender pushes the back of the offensive receiver, and that's what draws the flag for the pass interference. So the feet tangling is no problem, but the rule says that if there's an obvious attempt to impede the receiver from getting to the ball, it's DPI, and that's what we have here with his hand in the back.
Pass interference, defense number 32, 15-yard penalty for the previous spot, automatic first down.
This play gives me a chance to talk about some clock rules. Here's a situation where a pass receiver receives the ball beyond the line to gain and then is driven out of bounds behind the line to gain. Now, he is given the first down, he's given forward progress, which is correct, and therefore the clock really stops because of the first down and not because he goes out of bounds. By the time he gets out of bounds, the ball is already dead and the clock is stopped only for the first down. So what should have happened here is that the referee should have wound the clock on the ready for play rather than letting the clock start on the snap. And notice that we're inside of 2 minutes and a half, which means that it makes a difference here because with the clock only stopping for the first down, it's going to start on the ready for play. Had the ball carrier been driven out of bounds inside of 2 minutes, the clock would start on the snap. Here you're going to see a good call for a false start by the offensive team. The defense is jumping around some, and I put this on here to illustrate a point. Sometimes there's confusion about whether this should be charged to the defense for offside or to the offense for the movement that constitutes a false start. And the rule is that if the defensive team gets into the neutral zone and a player on the offense reacts to that by moving in response to being threatened by the defensive player, then you charge it to the defensive team. But in this case, you can see that there's no movement into the neutral zone by the defensive team. They're just making natural shifting movements, adjusting to what they see, but they're not getting into the neutral zone. And so the movement by the offensive team is a false start, correctly charged to the offense, and is not offside by the defense. Here's one of these plays where a ball carrier is about to score a touchdown and for some strange reason drops the ball about the time he crosses the goal line. Why they do this, I cannot imagine, but anyway, there seems to be sort of an epidemic of this. And I want to talk about it a little bit. From a standpoint of the rules, obviously this is not a touchdown until the ball carrier crosses the goal line with the ball. The fact that the officials have signaled touchdown actually kills the play, but if the players continue to play football, that is to say, if there's a recovery in the immediate continuing action, then the result is whatever the recovery gives. Now, sometimes the language gets confused here. It does not say immediate recovery. That is not required. What it does say is a clear recovery in the immediate continuing action, and that means the immediate continuing football action. Now in this situation, you can see that several players sort of trot by the ball casually. One player picks it up after a lot of time has passed. This is not considered recovery in the immediate continuing action. That's why it was not a touchback. The play goes to review, and of course it does show that in fact the ball carrier dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line. And so the ball is returned to the spot of the fumble because there was no recovery in the immediate continuing action. So this is handled correctly, but I wanted to talk about it because it is a good illustration of a play that we're seeing far too much of these days.
The receiver fumbled the ball, or turned the ball loose at the 1 yard line. There was no immediate recovery. Cal retains the ball at the 1 yard line. First down.
Here's a play that takes place near the end of the half, and I want to talk about the clock situation on plays like this. The rule is that if the clock is stopped and there are 3 or more seconds left in the half, and the clock will start on the referee's signal, then the offensive team may reasonably expect to be able to spike the ball and then run one more play. Now there's no guarantee of that. They have to execute the play, but with 3 seconds and the clock stopped, they can reasonably expect to be able to do that. If they're 2 seconds or less, then they can't and they must just run the play. In this situation, however, that rule does not apply because the game clock is running at the time that all this takes place. So the so-called 3-second rule would not apply here because the clock is not stopped. So then, of course, it becomes a matter of when they get the snap off and whether the clock shows time left when the pass hits the ground and all that. But the point I want to make is that the 3-second rule applies only if the game clock is stopped and will start on the referee's signal.
Previous ruling of the clock expiring is under review.
Circumstances.
After review, when the ball hit the ground, there was 1 second remaining on the clock. Please reset the game clock to 1 second. Clock will start on the snap.
This next play is an interesting one that involves the issue of a safety versus a touchback. The pass is intercepted in the end zone, and the player then takes the ball out of the end zone, gets hit, the ball comes out, rolls back into the end zone where it is recovered by the team that intercepted the pass. The rule about safety versus touchback is this. What matters is how did the ball get into the end zone? That is, what is the impetus that puts the ball into the end zone? When the player intercepts the pass, the ball went into the end zone because of the pass. So in that case, the impetus for the ball being in the end zone belonged to the passing team. If that player had taken a knee in the end zone right there, that would have been a touchback. Instead, he brings the ball out of the end zone, and now it's back into the field of play. He gets hit, the ball is fumbled back into the end zone where his team recovers it. Now the ball is in the end zone because of the fumble. So the original reason for the ball being in the end zone, that is due to the pass, that doesn't matter anymore because the ball has come back into the field of play and now fumbled back into the end zone. And now the responsibility for the ball being in the end zone belongs to the fumbling team. And so when a teammate of the fumbler or the fumbler himself recovers the ball grounded in the end zone, the ball is dead, that results in a safety. So I wanted you to see this in order to point out the differences between a touchback and a safety and who's responsible for the ball being in the end zone.
On the field, as the pass was intercepted, returned into the field of play, fumbled back into the end zone, recovered by the defensive team, safety.
Well, that's our plays for this week. Thanks again for watching, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with some more plays that'll be interesting for you to look at and talk about. And again, if you have suggestions or questions or any feedback on these, I'm always glad to receive it. And I certainly wish you the best in your games this week.